Hey, it's Central Valley Talk. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for the, excuse me, let's cut that and do it again, Mike. All right, it is New Thought Talk. I am your host, Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. And I want to welcome you to the show today. I've been gone for a couple weeks. I'm glad to be back, I think. I hope you're glad to be here, I think. A lot of chaos in the world, a lot of stuff going on. But you know what? This is our time. This is the time for faith. This is the time for spiritual studies, spiritual practices. And there's a part of my heart that believes that this is the time that we can begin to let our individual lights shine through our world, our connection, our sinners' light shine through our world and their connections. And I believe on some level that, on our shoulders rests a lot of good that can be expressed in the world. So it's that perspective I want to start the show today. If you follow me on Facebook or you see I've put up a couple posts this last week, and I'm going to start with one out of the textbook. It's on page 156 under the heading of Misplaced Faith. And Ernest Holmes writes, someone has said that the entire world is suffering from one big fear. Does that have a familiar feel to it? I don't know about you, but it kind of did to me when I read that. I'm going to come back to this. I want to go back to an earlier part of the book on page 51, where Holmes writes, it's this on the How to Use It page, and he writes, it's easy enough to rush about shouting that there are no sick people, but this will never heal those who appear to be sick. It's easy to proclaim there are no needy. Anyone can say this, whether they are wise or otherwise. If we are to prove such statements to be facts, in our experience, we shall be compelled to do more than just announce a principle, no matter how true that may be. Today, we're called to do more than announce our principle. Individuals are making connections through social media on prayer groups and training and teaching and stuff. And that's awesome, and it's important. But we got to do more than just speak our principle as if that's going to take care of the situation. We got to prove it. So now I want to go back to this page on Misplaced Faith and pick it up where he says, God will not answer our prayers, or there's a fear that God will not answer our prayers. Let us analyze the fears which possess us and see if this is true. The fear of lack is nothing more than the belief that God does not and will not supply us with whatever it is we need. The fear of death is that belief that the promise of eternal life may not be true. The fear of loss of health, loss of friends, loss of property. All these arise from the belief that God is not all that we claim. What do we claim? What are we claiming today? And are we living our claim? I've shared with you many times, and I got this from Galen McDowell, as he pointed out. It's one of his favorite statings, and he's with Christ Universal Temple in Chicago. But it's a quote from Emmett Fox, and it says, there is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. If we're not demonstrating what we claim to be our truth right now, we got to grow our understandings, and that's our challenge. That's what we're called to do. And I believe we can rise to that challenge. I believe that each and every one of us has the availability within themselves to make that connection and to know greater more than what they are knowing and expressing now, such that the light that I opened with, that I believe that we can bring into the world, may and will express through each and every one of us. Holmes goes on to say, he says, the fear of loss of health, loss of friends, loss of property, all arise from the belief that God is not all that we claim. Omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. All knowledge, all power, everywhere present. That's our claim. That's a powerful claim. It's an awesome claim. It's a claim that has evolved with consciousness, with humanity. I believe it's our time. He goes on to say, but what is fear? Nothing more or less than the negative use of faith. Faith misplaced, a belief in two powers instead of one, a belief that there can be a power opposed to God, or a belief in doubt, a belief that God can't raise to the level that we state that God is through ourselves as individuals. We can move beyond that. We have that power and ability. He says, faith misplaced, a belief in two powers instead of one, a belief that there can be a power opposed to God, whose influence and ability may bring us evil. In other words, to correct all the evils in the world would be but other than to have positive faith. Faith rightly placed, a faith that lays hold of integrity of the universe. The benefits of God and the unity of all life. Nevertheless, we cannot have faith in that which we do not in some measure understand. And there you have it. We can demonstrate at no greater than our ability to understand. And there is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. With all our getting, we need to get understanding. And what better time? A time when we have a lot of time on our hands. A time when we can access incredible knowledge bases through the internet. A time when we can sit with our textbook daily and read and meditate and study and do our daily practice in treatment. You know, one of the things that Ernest Holmes shares in this very profound book that he wrote is the need for having a spiritual experience. And it's not something that is denied us, but it is something that we have to be willing to put in the time, the practice, and the effort. And for those that do in earnest, in faith, they'll see an incredible, an amazing, just indescribable, awesome power unfold within themselves. We're here to live at a higher and greater degree of livingness. Thomas Troward points this out in the Edinburgh Lectures, and he talks about this concept of living at a higher and greater degree of livingness. And only because we have the intelligence that we have, do we have the capacity, do we have the opportunity to do just that. Humanity had to rise to a level of understanding. It wasn't just coming to a point of consciousness of I'm an individual, but it's rising above that, seeing God, our concept of God evolved from a tribal God of the early Hebrews to a cosmic God that Christ, Jesus, the master teacher, proclaimed in his teaching. If you're familiar with the Genesis story in the Old Testament, the opening story of creation, Genesis 1:1, that God that is described there in that first part of Genesis is a spiritual beingness. It's not the guy that walked through the Garden of Eden. And yet when we get to Genesis 2, there's that guy that walked through the Garden of Eden. You know, he talked to Adam. That's the guy that had conversations with Abram and so on and so forth. But how is it that earlier Genesis creation story was so different in its understanding? And in that creation story, the idea that God created man and woman in his own image, and he created them, male and female, a different story than what you get in Genesis 2. Why is that? And if you have an interest in studying the Old Testament or studying the Bible in general, you'll find out that the authorship of that Genesis story, actually through the first 5 chapters of what they call the Pentateuch or the Torah, is not a single authorship. They attribute it to 4 different individuals, and the latest group that's involved put the first Genesis creation story at the beginning. By that time, the Israelites understood a different God than the later stories. And why did they put that in there? Well, there's a lot of speculation on why. My personal belief is because by the time they got to that concept of putting the book together in its total, combining the various aspects of it, that they begin to understand that God wasn't, this guy, but God was a cosmic God, a spiritual God, a spirit. And that's the God that was handed down to us in the New Testament through the teachings of Jesus. And there's a whole evolution of that understanding within the Israelites, as if you have the opportunity to read the history. It's amazing. But getting back to my point, God is spirit. God is consciousness. We are created in the image and the likeness of that. Not the guy that walked through the garden, but the guy or the spirit that is presented to us in the first chapter of Genesis. And our connectedness with that, as Troward tells us, is that humanity has reached a level of consciousness and intelligence where we can now call on, understand, learn the truth of who we are. And in learning that truth, we can make a choice to do the things necessary to embody that truth in our life and to live a life that is beyond our mere human mortal understandings. It's pretty awesome. And yet we're here today. We're here in this time of chaos. Ernest Holmes believed that before he made his transition in 1960, that our philosophy, new thought, science of mind and spirit, maybe all of it combined, was the spiritual philosophy and teaching for this time. And yet we kind of fell away. We've been given a second opportunity, if you will, to step up and step into this, to live our truth, if you will. And so that's what today's about. I'm going to take my first break, and I'll see you when we come back.
When you need to get fit, contact Gary Torres, IFBB Pro, specializing in weight loss, body transformations, and contest prep. Email GaryTorres5336@yahoo.com.
Hey, I'm Chris DeVold. Tune in every Friday night on CentralValleyTalk.com when I bring you Sex, Drugs, Chris DeVold, where I'll give you 3 guesses on what we talk about. And I also vow to bring you 1 live local music act a week. So tune in every week because you never know what kind of music you're going to hear right here on CentralValleyTalk.com.
The Space Colony Journals are an epic tale of a family's struggle to survive. Meet the courageous women and dangerous men who dare to carve a home on the alien world of Vensug. Get your copy today. Available on Amazon and Gale Daly's FineArt.com.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Contact Sarah Hernandez of June and Matt Photography to schedule your portrait, engagement, wedding, or next family photo session. But that's not all. Sarah is also your personal brandographer, helping you ditch the stock photos and get images that sell. Call 559-412-3721. Visit JuneandMattPhoto.com and follow Sarah on Instagram and Facebook.
Give your child the tools to succeed. The Yergubian Academic Center offers one-on-one and group educational lessons by appointment. Over 90% of our students show significant improvement in their academics in just 3 months. Students of the Yergubian Academic Center have gone on to UCLA, UC San Diego, Yale, Stanford, and many more prestigious universities. Schedule a tutoring session today. Call 559-437-3973. If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service. 559-213-9430 and visit cleanmasterflood.com. Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant.
Forget about the higher good of food, right? You're growing a product that people enjoy really all over the world. I mean, how does that make you feel?
I think about that all the time. I think about the families sitting around a table, enjoying a meal. I just see that what we do brings families together.
I mean, we're blessed. We're in paradise for food.
The Kern family of the Kern Family Farm invites you to eat delicious, nutritious, organic produce available at the Gnarly Carrot, located at 32954 Road 222 in North Fork, California. The Gnarly Carrot is a local, natural, seasonally changing market, offering a wide range of products from local Central Valley vendors. Get your caffeine fix, grab a smoothie, and support small businesses. Learn more at KernFamilyFarm.com and visit the Gnarly Carrot today. Doctor in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to drinsukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit drinsukasa.com today.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. This is our crazy chaos edition, if you will, on all levels. But anyway, where's our faith? And I'm speaking to our whole New Thought family. Where's our faith today? Is our faith confident? Is our faith vital? Is our faith a faith of belief, if you will? The reason why I bring this up, and I shared this a couple weeks, well, been several weeks, and I put this up in a post. This is from the book Ernest Holmes, His Life and Times by Fenwick Holmes. And if you have a copy, you go to page 161. And here Fenwick's talking about the pandemic in 1918, the Spanish flu. He says, later our work at our Metaphysical Institute went on during the great influenza epidemic in the fall of 1918, which took hundreds of lives in California. Schools, theaters, and churches were closed. Does that sound familiar? And people went about the streets with white gauze masks, attempting to shut out the germs or virus and escape the contagion. Workers fell ill at their desks and in their business places of the city, and they returned to their homes or to hospitals and were seen no more. He says, we went about our business as usual, and although we treated many people who came or telephoned for help, and this is the key, he says, we did not have a single failure. We did not have a single failure. He says, we loaned Connie, the trained nurse who had been with us in the sanitarium, and she was a student of our institute, to a military academy where so many boys had died. After her arrival, there was only one death. Her animated figure, her face glowing with good nature, and her cheery confidence in life with a capital L, lifted up the spirits of the boys. Is that possible? Is it true? Did it happen? I have no reason to doubt, and neither should you. What is it that we claim? We claim that when you know the truth will set you free. We claim that there is an absolute. And maybe as we understand the absolute, it may be something far different, but at least we have an inkling. One of the things that Holmes taught was basically all spiritual understandings, all faith, have an understanding of what God is, and they have their way of getting there. But he also believed that there was a journey, a faith, a philosophy that when one employed it in their own life, in their own belief, that they could become a co-creator in their living experience with the divine principle, with Source, with God, with the cosmic intelligence that created the universe, the God of Genesis 1:1. That's what he believed, and that's what he taught. And he raised up practitioners and ministers and teachers that believed that, taught that, and also saw those levels of demonstration. So here we are today, and today we are challenged. Where are we at in that challenge? Where's your center at? Where are your practitioners? Where are your ministers at? I don't know. I'm in a small town. I don't live in Fresno. I come down here to do the show. I'm in a very small town in a mountainous area, and it's absolutely gorgeous. When people say they live in God's country, I believe that I do. I look out, I don't see neighbors, I see blue skies, I see mountains, I see snow, I see pine trees. Each and every day, this is where I go when I go outside to do my meditation, where I go outside to study. But you know what? I could just as easily be in the middle of the city. It doesn't make any difference where we're at. And it's no different where you're at. And if you don't have access to the information on your own, you can seek it out online. You're welcome to even email me. I happily answer questions, and I also happily provide treatment for individuals that are seeking that. Where are you at? Holmes goes on, he says, faith is available to all. He says, persons familiar with the biblical history hardly need a lesson about faith. For the 11th chapter of Hebrews is full of instances providing its sustaining power, faith. He says Paul enumerates at length the experience of Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Gideon, Samuel, and the prophets, and many more, who triumphed through faith, who subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, ordained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the power of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong. Sounds like things we could use today, right here, right now. Where are we at? That's my question. Where are we at? And, one of the things I can say about where we're at is if we are sheltering in place, then we have time because we're not involved with our normal daily routine. But what should be part of our normal daily routine is that time of study, that time of prayer, that time of meditation, clearing the mind, eliminating doubt, seeking to grow our individual faith. In writing about faith, Holmes says, faith is made up of belief, acceptance, and trust. And we have to have all those at a higher and greater level. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes we want to, hang on to things. We don't want to expand our belief. He says, a vitalizing belief. In order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but I want to go back here again to this at the bottom of page 51. It is easy enough to rush about shouting, "There are no sick people," but this will never heal those who appear to be sick. We can't just go out and make a declaration that it's so when we don't live at that level of understanding that it is so, because there is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. Where is our understanding today in science of mind and spirit? Where are we? You know, we have sinners. Some of them are vibrant, some of them are stagnant. We need to grow them all. We need to become more energized, more full of that which we claim that we believe as an expression through us, living at a higher and greater degree of livingness. That is our purpose for being here. And it's up to us. In order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built up from belief, acceptance, and trust. Whenever anything enters our thought which destroys it in any degree, one of these attitudes, to that extent, it is weakened. I'm going to flip over here to page, I believe it's page 285. I could be wrong, but probably not. Because we go to 285, and Holmes talks about one of the things that can keep us from having that vitalizing faith. In page 285, it's about the fourth paragraph down. He says, faith in God is such a complete conviction that the Spirit will make the gift that there is no longer any subjective contradiction. That Spirit will make the gift that there is no longer any subjective contradiction. This faith can exist only in such degree as the conviction is in line with reality. What is that conviction we're talking about here? He says, we cannot believe that any law of the universe will ever change its own nature because we desire it to do so. Remember, we have evolved in intelligence and consciousness to the level where we have the ability to understand the truth of who and what we are, the ability to make that connection within ourselves with that truth, the ability to know that connection, the ability to guide that connection. He says, moving on, he says, this faith can exist in only such degree as the conviction is aligned with reality. We cannot believe in any other law of the universe that it will ever change, or that the law of the universe will ever change its own nature because we desire it to do so. We can't look out into the world and hold a belief that the world has to be in alignment with what and the way we say it has to and needs to be. He says, as we come into the spiritual realm, which is a perfect natural and normal realm, we have to come into it in its own nature. It is a unity. We are created in the image and the likeness of God, the nature of God. Go back to Genesis chapter 1, and you see how God has created us. That understanding that the Israelites had, that Jesus taught. He says, therefore, or he says, there must be nothing vicious in it. Remember what Jesus said, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there remember that thy brother has aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way, and first be reconciled with thy brother, and then come and offer the gift. What is the gift? What is the altar? What is he saying here? When we go to do our prayer work, our gift is acceptance. Our gift is belief, and our gift is trust. We must accept that all of God's creation is good. There can be no belief, no doubt. So when we look out in the world, and all the chaos, besides the viral chaos, there's a consciousness viral chaos. And it makes no difference how you are situated within that, whether you think you are the the vaccine or the, whatever. Remember what the teaching is. We love God with all that we are. We love our neighbor as ourselves. It doesn't mean that we can't put up good boundaries, but those boundaries must be boundaries put up with love. And we must love those that are on the other side of the boundaries. We've got to stop with the hatred. We've got to stop with the anger. We've got to stop with the chaos that we spew into the world out of our own consciousness because we feel righteous in where we're at. And not only is that something that as individuals we need to know, but as a spiritual philosophy, as a way of life, we need to demonstrate that. It's not just about, being love and being a doormat. It's about being love and being righteousness in that love. Being love and looking out and seeing our neighbor, regardless of whatever sliver is in their eye, seeing them in the light of the divine creation, the perfection, the truth of who we are. Can we do that? Is it possible? And I'm just throwing this out there. Is it possible that the chaos that we've been visited upon us at this time is not in some way related to all the chaos, the anger that is being spewed about in all media, social media, print media, news media? And again, like I say, it makes no difference what side of the coin you may fall on. Chances are, if you watch the news and you get passionately involved, you may want to revisit that within yourself. Maybe it's time to turn the news off. Maybe it's time to shut down a lot of the social media that is, a generator of doubt, a generator of panic, chaos, a generator of anger. Where are you at in your heart? Where are you at in your consciousness? Holmes says, faith in God is such a complete conviction that spirit will make its gift, that there is no longer any subjective contraindication, but this faith can exist only in such a degree as the conviction is in alignment with reality. Are we in alignment with reality? Are we willing to step up and embrace that truth in our life and stop the chaos in our hearts? Are we able to do that? We're going to take our next break, and I'll see you when we come back.
Ghost Golf is Fresno's most spectacular family entertainment center. It's frightening how much fun you'll have on our 18-hole indoor haunted graveyard course. Skeletons welcome you, but watch out! All sorts of creatures may come to life. Ghost Golf is perfect for scary good parties, so book yours today. You'll get free plays at the Mummy Shooting Gallery, arcades, and air hockey. Check out our party and weekday specials online and like us on Facebook. Come play at family-friendly Ghost Golf. Yeah! Good times will haunt you.
For all your real estate needs, call Julia Tadich with Clovis First, 559-323-2213, or visit clovisfirst.com. That's CLOVIS, numeral 1, ST.com. Whether you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, get a loan, or whatever the case may be, call Julia Tadich.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
At Laulea Travels, we strive to make your vacation experience as relaxing as possible. From the time you start dreaming about it to the time you're sharing your vacation photos with your friends and coworkers. Our vow is to treat your vacation as if it were our own. If personal service, attention to detail, and years of travel experience are important to you, then let Laulea Travels plan your next dream vacation. Visit lauleatravels.com or call 559-360-1933. A dynamic litigator, in-tune listener, and forward thinker with almost a decade of experience, Nasser Nekumanish is a skilled attorney servicing clients throughout the Central Valley. When you need a lawyer, call 559-441-0114 and ask for Nasser Nekumanish. Linda Lee Kane is an author of fantasies, thrillers, contemporary fiction, and children's books. Order a book by Linda Lee Kane on Amazon or on lindaleekane.com. Get twice the results in half the time. Call 559-349-7934 to schedule your appointment with Clovis Fit Body Bootcamp today. And follow Fit Body Bootcamp Clovis on Instagram.
So we go on. Holmes answers this question. He says, why? Because we cannot enter into peace while we are in a state of confusion. It cannot be done. We cannot manifest love when we have a mental equivalent of hate in our hearts. And it's not what we hold necessarily in our conscious mind. It's also what the seeds that we've planted in our subjective mind. So this time, when we have this time to meditate and to clear our hearts and clear our minds, to study, to seek to grow and vitalize our faith. And when I say grow, it's not that we can grow more faith. I believe that we have all the faith that we'll ever have. It's just how we express it. Holmes writes, he says, on page 284, he says, faith is real to the one who experiences it and cannot be denied to the mind of the one who has proven it. There is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. You have this opportunity on so many levels, in so many ways. There is a light that is within you that seeks to express itself and cannot be expressed by anybody else, only through you. It may mean a shift in the way you've been looking at the world, but it's a shift for the better. It's a shift that you can make. Faith looks to the invisible, and instead of seeing a void, it fastens its gaze upon a solid reality. Faith is not hope, it is substance. It does not look away from itself. Being substance, it looks within itself. In doing this, it realizes the life of God is also the life of man. That God that was expressed in Genesis 1:1. We're created in that image, that likeness, that nature. And it expresses as us by expressing through us. Faith is essential to effective mental treatment. But this faith should be one of understanding. So faith may be said to be scientific. That is, we are now dealing with a principle that has been defined, and we know something about the way it works. We know how to use it, the law governing it. Faith in this law helps us to use our understanding with greater conviction. There is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. This time has been a time to challenge us on our faith. How are we going to demonstrate? How are we going to manifest? How are we going to create our other side, both individually, within our families, within our communities, and beyond? How easy is it going to be to go back to old habit patterns? We can get all excited about getting down with this faith stuff and treatment stuff, and it's all fine until, well, if you happen to catch the evening news, or a friend hits you on one of the social networks on Facebook, and there you go, you're off and running. How about there you go and wish them love and express something greater, higher? Not doubt, not anger, not hate, but something from the core, the center of your being. This thing called love, and it's you. And it's you as only you can express. Vitalizing faith. In order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built, it's built up from belief, acceptance, and trust. What are we willing to believe? What are we willing to accept? And where is it that we place our trust? You know, of those three, trust is one of the, I mean, we get belief, right? We get acceptance. Belief can be easily, we can give words to belief. Embodying it may be a little tougher. That's where acceptance comes in. But this idea of trust, how can you trust what your eyes and ears tell you isn't so? Okay, going back to that bottom line in page, I think it's 51, how it works, where Holmes says, we cannot go out and look at the sick and say all is well. We can't do it. Not if we're not there. This is our time to get there. This is our time. You know, science of mind. It is, Holmes believed this to be a science, not a science as in something feel good, but a science is in the real definition of a science, that there is a formula of implementation that when any individual takes that formula and embodies it, puts it into practice, they should be able to get the same result as any other individual that does the same thing using the same formula. Now, that doesn't necessarily have a lot of feel-goodness to it, but Holmes goes on to explain in great detail, in depth. There is a lot of feeling. There is a lot of work. You will find where he says that this is not easy. Matter of fact, if you go to the final conclusions on page 431 or 423, if you go there, and Holmes says, in conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction, followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science, prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. And this is what we're called to do. This is our time. This is the time to practice. You know, all of our teachers that span our whole spiritual family, this is our time. Not to teach just, but to put it into practice. Are we looking out in the world and are we allowing what we see, what we hear, see, to be the defining truth that we live with, that chaos, that anger, that fear, that panic? Or do we look out into the world and know that there is something that is all knowledge, something that is all power, something that is everywhere present, that we can call upon as we align ourselves with principle, that we can call upon with the knowledge that we can see and will see demonstration in our life, in the lives of those around us. Can we be that light in the world? I'm reminded of when Osama bin Laden was assassinated, and the Dalai Lama was giving a talk the following day. I believe it was University of Southern California. It's not important where it was, but he was asked about the correctness, the rightness of killing Osama bin Laden. And he responded, he said, sometimes countermeasures have to be taken. Sometimes. But he followed that up by saying, first, we have love and compassion. That's what we're called upon. First, we have love and compassion. Sometimes boundaries may need to be set. For us as individuals, that boundary may be as simple as turning off the news, turning off the TV, not buying into the back and forth on, who's right, who's wrong on some social media, getting upset, deleting people, blocking people, all the craziness. Sometimes countermeasures must be taken. But first, we must have compassion and love. That's our call. This is a science of mind and spirit. We're called to this science to put it into practice. And by putting it into practice, it's an all-in commitment. That's part of the science part. You can't dabble. You can't put your little finger in and expect to experience it. Now, it's true that there are people that put a lot of the things, that principles that we talk about, the law of cause and effect, into practice. And they don't practice the spiritual part. They don't practice the love. And they see results. I'll grant you that. And there are people that want to build up their reputations on teaching that and making that the new, gimmick, if you will. It works to a point, sometimes to a big point. But it does so at a cost, a personal cost and a social cost. One of the most incredible things about the individuals, the early pioneers of New Thought, was their realization of the importance of the connectedness with the God that's described in the first chapter of Genesis. God that is the Spirit. God that is everywhere present. God that is the Word. God that is all of God's creation. And it was good. We're all good. We're all God. That's what I've been thinking about. Maybe I'm a little more preachy than normal, but I don't know about you. I seek to see greater things from myself and from humanity as a whole. That's my daily treatment. The perfection, the absolute, the higher, the greater degree of livingness. Knowing there's one God, one mind, one life. And that life, that mind, is mine. It's what lives and seeks and expresses through me. So I want to thank you for being with us today. We'll see you next week. Be safe. Stay secure. As you go through the week, know the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is there. All is well. Have a great week, my friends.